as much action as they would because they're hoping that it's going to get
Definitely.
easier. But also because so many of you are reporting that there are certain buyers out there, because they're asking to compete, because they have to go over a list, waive the appraisal sometimes, waive the inspection. Sometimes that makes buyers nervous, you can imagine. And they'll say things to you like, well, gosh, maybe this isn't the market for us. Maybe we should wait for things to adjust. Well, you know what? If you're not explaining these points to them, you might be giving them a disservice, right? So, what are you saying to yourself? We talked about this a little bit last week. If you're saying, I already have too many buyers, how can I deal with this? Or maybe, you've got a buyer convincing you that it's better to wait. Well, that's kind of malpractice if you know these points, don't you think?
Well, I said it a second ago, right?
Because their rent's going to raise, things like that.
You and I had opportunities to buy properties that we chose not to buy, and a year later, especially here in Puerto Rico, we could have made significant amounts of money, and we didn't do it. True. So you need to learn, listeners, to tell stories opposed to just saying there's, for example, well, I had a client last year. This is just me winging it and making it up, but you guys can use this. It was Betty and Steve, or maybe you actually have real names. Use them when you can. And they were vacillating on buying something because they didn't want to feel like they were overpaying. And so they stayed renting. And now what's happened is properties have continued to appreciate or increase in value at such a rate now that they can't afford to buy what they would have been able to buy last year because they thought indeed prices would somehow come down. And so the bitter truth is it is possible because of the current trends. And we gave you those guys' points yesterday or on Friday. And we also just were talking about them just a second ago. If you can then present those 8 or 9 points to your sellers or your buyers rather and say, listen, there's a good chance